Okay, now that we have the fundamentals of string manipulation, what we're going to do is we're going to create a program where we need to use substring in order to scramble the string in order to make kind of a puzzle to reorganize the letters to figure out what the string was. So the program's called Scramble String. Import the scanner and set up your scanner object here. So what we need to do in order to set this up is we're going to need a string that the user is going to enter their text with. So that'll be the my text string. And we'll need a secondary string called temp text, which will be the temporary text that we're scrambling. And then we're going to replace it back in my text once we've done a letter swap. So we're going to do a bunch of individual letter swaps. And we're going to need two number values. These will be the positions to swap. So we're going to randomly determine two letters. We're going to swap them, and then we're going to do this over and over again until we're satisfied with the degree to which the string is scrambled. So let's prompt the user. So system.out.print print just enter some text to scramble, and input.next line is going to go into the my text value. Okay. Now we're ready to go about our scrambling. So what I want to do here is we're going to use a for loop. And now we're not using this for loop to traverse the string. We want it to swap an amount of letters. So int I equals 1, we're going to revert to our counting style for loop. And while I is less than or equal to 10, we're going to do 10 swaps, and then increase, of course, by 1 every time. So what I want to do here first is I want to pick my two positions that are going to be swapped. So n1 gets the value of integer math.random multiplied by, now this is yet again one of the advantages to the length method, actually giving you the number of characters that are in the string. So my text dot length here is going to be the perfect thing to handle this, because remember that if our string, say, has 100 characters, the length will be 100, but math.random times 100 can only get us to 99 after we turn it into an integer. So based on the fact that this will go up to but not including this, it'll go from 0 up to the last position in the string. So n1, and we're going to do n2 the same way. And then what we're going to do first with temp text is going to become blank. We're going to empty it by putting the null string assignment here. And then we're going to follow it up with how we're going to use these to scramble it. So imagine that we have a nice day as our text. And we want to randomly determined swap the E and the C. So what that's going to be doing is we're going to assemble it in this way. First, we're going to take everything before this letter, and then we're going to take the second letter, we're going to drop it in that place, then we're going to take everything between the first character and the second one, drop that in place. Then we're going to do a copy paste here. Then we're going to take this character, drop it in place of the second one, And then we're going to finish this with whatever is after the second letter. And that's the process by which that we're going to make a whole bunch of swaps. Sometimes it'll end up swapping the space for a letter, but that doesn't matter. So what we want to do here is we'll start this process. So temp text is going to get the value of temp text plus, we're going to do a concatenation here, my text dot substring. So what we want to do is we want to go all the way from the beginning up to whatever the first letter is. So that's from 0, which is always the beginning, up to N1. The next thing that we want to do is we want to drop in whatever N2 is. So that is from position N2 to N2 plus 1. And that'll give us just that single letter. The next thing that we want to do is everything between the first position and the second position. So N1 plus 1 is going to give us this position here. And then we want to go up to but not include the second position. And we have to put in N2 for that. So this is going to cover like the middle portion. The next thing that we need to do, I'll take the first one instead, is we want to drop in the first letter into this position. So that is going to go from N1 to N1 plus 1. And then we're going to finish this off with everything from N2 plus 1, N2 plus 1, all the way to the last position. Now the last position is my text dot length. There we go. So these 5 steps will reassemble the string into the temp text variable in the particular order that will end up with having these 2 letters swapped for each other. I say letters, but of course they could be characters or the spaces or whatever. So now what we need to do is we need to put temp text back in, replacing the original text value. So my text gets the value of temp text, and let's print out what it does. So system.out.println my text. And then I'm also going to take this to the end, and then we'll kind of do a final print because we're going to eventually sort of remove this. So I'll run the program and we'll see what we have. So we'll try putting in our text idea, have a nice day. And then we'll see that it starts printing okay. So the first one has the H replaced with the A. And then the next one, the Y is replaced with the I. But then we get some sort of error here, and it doesn't really give us a good indication of what's happening. And it's saying that it has an issue on this one here. So this is a problematic line of code because potentially you could have your N1 value being larger than your N2 value, and that will cause your program to have this out of bounds exception. Whatever you have on the left has to be equal to or smaller than whatever you have on the right. So what we need to do is to fix that up, we have to guarantee that N1 is smaller than N2. So here's how we're going to accomplish that. We're going to have the program do the heavy lifting for this. So put in a do here. And so there's a do loop while. So while n1 is larger than or equal to n2, then we want to just keep cycling through random numbers until we find something that is satisfying as an answer. And then it should be able to accomplish this no problem. So we run this one more time. We put in have a nice day. And then we can see the sequence as it puts this together. So that looks pretty good. But now what happens if we decide to put in something a little bit longer? So I'm going to run this again. And this time we're going to scramble the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So now if I scramble this, now this isn't really good because we still even have one of the original words from the text that went completely untouched. So if we were trying to really like mix the letters up, like the H is still in its position, the O is still in the position. So a lot of this kind of just stayed where it was, which is a little bit of an issue. So what we need to do is we need to vary this. So 10 is not an acceptable amount of swaps to make. What we want to do is we want to make an amount of swaps roughly similar to the length of the text. So instead of 10, this is where we should probably put in a myText dot length. Or if you really want to guarantee that it's really mixed up, we can do a myText dot length times 2. And that will really scramble whatever you put in here. So I'm going to put in the same text, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. And yeah, this is, I like that it shuffled all of the spaces to the beginning of this. But by the time we get this finished, this is pretty unrecognizable as something that used to be a piece of text. So anyway, yeah, you may want to do something like this where you're varying how much work you're doing based on the length of the string. The last thing we probably want to do for this is remove the tester line so that it becomes just you put in a piece of text and it becomes scrambled by the end. So hello world becomes this mess here. Okay, so this is pretty useful in terms of assembling strings that you've edited, and as a bit of a reminder that when you're editing strings, you don't always want to have a traversal for loop. Sometimes you're still going to want to do something where it counts up in this method.